One main aspect of fitness is fat loss, and most people are pretty aware that the foundation to getting lean first boils down to calorie intake. If you're burning more calories than you consume, you will lose fat. This is referred to as a calorie deficit and should be your first concern when it comes to seeing that number on the scale drop. Now, having said that, once this foundation is addressed, how you go about generating this deficit can be done in several ways. The problem is that when people don't lose weight, they then think calories in versus calories out isn't that important or just doesn't work altogether. And I'm here to tell you that's not true, which means I'm also here to tell you that you aren't in a calorie deficit. While there are plenty of reasons why you aren't, here are 5 common reasons that odds are if you address will help you lose fat. The first one is portion sizes. Oftentimes, people estimate the calories at a glance on their plate, but unless you have experience doing this and the knowledge of how many calories a food at a particular mass contains, you're probably eating more than you think you are. Additionally, you could be eating more often throughout the day than you realize, even if you do reduce your portion sizes. For a lot of people, this tends to happen when they aren't tracking calories. So how do you fix this? Well, there are 2 ways. One, you can track your calories. This is something that I do, but something I also realize isn't for everyone. While calories matter for weight loss, tracking calories isn't as necessary. For some people, the act of tracking calories provides a psychological barrier and an unhealthy relationship when it comes to eating. If you're someone who doesn't have this problem, then I would strongly recommend that you start tracking your calories, at least to a degree, because in this day and age, it's incredibly simple with any fitness app. If you're someone that doesn't want to do this, then I would encourage you to learn some of the basics about food choices. For instance, understand that selecting minimally processed foods tends to be more satiating and nutrient dense. Understand that increasing your protein intake, especially lean protein, will also keep you full while preserving muscle mass. Add more vegetables and fiber to your diet and less refined carb sources. You'll find that if you add these types of food on your plate for 90 to even 70% of your meals, it's going to be hard to have large portion sizes because these foods tend to make you full. As a bonus tip, make sure you are also well hydrated throughout the day and consider having a glass of water with your meal. Water will make you feel full, and if you take sips of water in between bites, that'll also contribute to satiety. Number 2 is not tracking your cheat meals. Very few people abstain from any sort of cheat meal or snack. It's too hard. If you're on a diet, it's liberating to have these every so often. Unfortunately, there's a notion to treat calories from cheat meals as a reward that doesn't need to be accounted for. This is 100% incorrect, and at times a huge reason for why people can't lose weight despite believing they are in a caloric deficit. Earlier, I said you don't need to track your calories, and I stand by that, but you do need to account for them in some way. If you are incorporating a cheat meal or a cheat snack, you need to understand that cheat meal replaces something you would normally eat throughout the day. Now, one cheat meal or snack usually doesn't break the caloric bank, but depending on the size of that meal or the frequency, this can hinder your weight loss progress. So how do you fix this? Well, the best way is 1, to figure out what types of foods you want to be as your cheat meal or snack. That way you have a good understanding of how calorically dense they probably will be. And then 2 would be to try to schedule them. Now, when I say scheduling, I don't mean you have to put them on your calendar because that's just weird. That's not how people eat. But you might want to be aware of the days where you would likely be more willing to indulge in certain foods. Now, for most people, that tends to be on the weekends, which brings me to reason number 3, not accounting for the weekend. For me, this is the hardest. Monday through Friday, I've got my diet down because I'm forced to live my life with a bit more accountability due to having a job, which simply means that my habits throughout the weekdays tend to be a bit more planned and systematic. However, the weekends have a tendency to change our habits just a bit. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that your diets have to follow the same eating patterns as the weekday because everyone's schedule differs. But if you're a little bit more lax with your diet on the weekends, there's a good chance you are eating more than you think. As an example, let's say you have a calorie maintenance of 2,500 and you decide to cut your calories by 500. You manage this deficit for 5 days of the week, but then on the weekends, without realizing, you end up eating 3,500 calories on Saturday and Sunday. If you average those calories out through the week, you end up eating about 2,500 calories per day. This essentially brings your average caloric value back up to 2,500 or maintenance value, which results in essentially no weight loss. The best way to deal with this is to realize that calories count on the weekends too, especially if that's when you choose to relax up on your diet a bit. Remember, you're trying to lose weight. There needs to be some type of accountability. Number 4 is alcohol intake. This one kind of ties into the point above in the sense that you're more likely to also drink during the weekend. And here's a quick fact about alcohol. It's got 7 calories per gram, which puts it closer to the amount of calories for fat. A typical 12-ounce beer has 150 calories, which means if you've had 3 beers, you've already racked in 450 calories, and you've done so pretty quickly because it's much easier to drink your calories than to eat them. Just like with the point above, alcohol is a factor that most people either don't consider or aren't even aware of how big of an impact it has to losing weight. Odds are, if you aren't accounting for your calories over the weekend, it's easier to let things like alcohol slip by as well. Number 5, overestimating your activity. So earlier I said that in order to lose weight, you need to generate a caloric deficit, and I worded it like this because there are different ways you can do this. You can eat less, or you can increase your physical activity, or you can do a little bit of both. While I think it's a fantastic idea to incorporate more physical activity, whether that's, cardio or resistance training or just walking more, I think people tend to overestimate how many calories physical activity tends to burn. When it comes to your total daily energy expenditure, most people's physical activity only accounts for about, 20 to 30%. It's very easy to do a cardio session, feel hungry, and then naturally want to eat. The problem is that without a basic understanding of how many calories you really burned, people tend to eat back the calories they used up. One reason people tend to eat back their calories is relying on fitness device trackers that usually overestimate their expenditures. These overestimations can range from 30 to 90%, which if you think about it is a ridiculous margin of error. If you are under the impression you burn 500 to 700 calories during a mild 20-minute run session, you'd feel like you earned those calories back. So my best advice is that if you are using physical activity to burn more calories, which is great, try not to factor in what you've burned back into your diet. Just let your physical activity contribute to your deficit. And honestly, I would also say avoid estimations on what your fitness tracker says as well. Okay, folks, that's about it. While I don't think anything I've said here is particularly groundbreaking, I think a lot of us can relate to at least one of these points. Maybe you just needed a reminder, or maybe you didn't realize how big of an impact any one of these mistakes could hinder your weight loss efforts. While the answer to weight loss is to eat less, there also needs to be a change in behavior and habit to be successful. Addressing one or all of these mistakes goes into cultivating better habits. So if you're struggling to lose weight, hopefully this video provided you with some answers or reminders. Take a step back, examine what I said, and then consider anything else that might be preventing you from losing fat. If you have any questions, comments, or things to add, leave them down below, and I'd love to start a conversation. Anyway, I'll see you all next time.